The strangest part of the Steelers' Aaron Rodgers situation is no longer the waiting. It's the fact that Rodgers is reportedly already in Pittsburgh, and somehow the actual meeting still hasn't happened. That detail changes the tone of this entire saga. For weeks, the assumption around the league was simple. Once Rodgers physically arrived in Pittsburgh, the finish line was close. Contract talks would accelerate, the Steelers would finally get clarity at quarterback, and Mike McCarthy could officially move forward with building the offense around a veteran he already knows extremely well. Instead, the exact opposite happened. According to reports, Rodgers has been in the city for multiple days, while the Steelers continue communicating primarily through his agent. Meanwhile, Rodgers has reportedly stayed away from the team facility entirely during rookie minicamp. That's not normal quarterback business behavior. And even if there's a perfectly reasonable explanation behind it, the optics are undeniably awkward for a franchise that already promised this offseason would not turn into another extended Rodgers drama cycle, because this now feels even murkier than last year. Back in 2025, there was at least a clearer timeline. Rodgers was weighing retirement, evaluating his future, and eventually chose Pittsburgh. This time, the Steelers already know what a season with Rodgers looks like. Rodgers already knows the organization. McCarthy already knows how to coach him. On paper, this should have been easier. Instead, every update somehow creates more uncertainty. One day, there are reports suggesting a deal is imminent. The next day, insiders say no meeting is even scheduled. Then comes confirmation Rodgers is physically in Pittsburgh, but still not engaging directly with the organization publicly, while negotiations continue behind the scenes. That's why Steelers fans are getting restless, not because Rodgers hasn't signed yet, but because nobody can clearly explain what the holdup actually is anymore. Football-wise, the situation remains obvious. Rodgers is still the Steelers' best short-term option if the goal is competing immediately. Mason Rudolph is viewed more as a stabilizer than a franchise solution. Drew Aller is a developmental rookie. Will Howard is still learning, and McCarthy did not come to Pittsburgh to oversee a full rebuild in year one. The Steelers want a veteran who gives them playoff credibility right now. Rodgers still gives them that, at least more than anyone else currently available. But leverage is starting to shift in subtle ways. Earlier in the offseason, Rodgers appeared to hold most of the power because Pittsburgh had no alternative plan. Now, the Steelers have at least started preparing for life without certainty. They drafted Allar, they kept adding depth, and the longer this drags out, the more pressure falls on Rodgers to decide whether he truly wants another NFL season at age 42. That's why this development feels so bizarre. If Rodgers is already in Pittsburgh, then this isn't about travel logistics. It's not about scheduling. It's not even really about access anymore. It's about commitment. And until Rodgers gives the Steelers a definitive answer face-to-face, this entire offseason continues to feel like a franchise standing in limbo, waiting for one player to decide how the next era begins.